You're on.
Hello.
Sometimes I edit this part out.
Do you? Okay.
Welcome to episode 4, the Rest of Us podcast. I'd like to give a big thank you to all of you that have smashed that subscribe button and that like button. Uh, Appreciate it. Please subscribe if you like what we're doing. For episode 4, I have a very special guest. This is my friend and cousin, Brandon. Hello, Brandon.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Brandon is 23?
Yeah, we just said that like 10 minutes ago,
Yeah,
but
23. I
yeah.
almost forgot. He's 23. He is a recent college grad
hmm
from University of Montana,
Yes.
and you majored in business.
Yes. Double majored.
What was your double?
International business and management entrepreneurship.
Oh, I really didn't know that. I'm sorry.
That's just minute details.
Is one of them, so you double majored?
Yeah. Yeah. I originally was on a pre-law track because for the longest time I was thinking I was going to go to law school,
Yeah.
and it was a goal, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But partway through, I decided to shadow my stepfather, who was a lawyer, and see how he lives his life, and it was the most bland thing ever.
What was bland about it?
Well, he woke up and went to his office around 7:30 in the morning,
Hmm?
and then once he got there, his receptionist gave him his mail for the day. Told him he had voicemails. He just worked, had conference calls, did paperwork until 4 p.m.
Yeah.
Went to dinner for an hour. Went home, did more paperwork till 10 p.m. Went to bed.
So very monotonous.
Very
No
yes,
work-life balance.
yeah, and I'm sure that's like specific to what he does. He's probate,
Oh, okay.
which is dealing with wills and estates
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff. So I'm sure that's
Dude,
more
how boring is that probably?
exactly, yeah.
You think it was interesting to him, or do you think he was doing it because it pays well, or both?
Probably both. Um, I would imagine if you're doing something fun, because like the profession of being like in the law,
Yeah.
I guess area, is fantasized because of Suits.
Oh,
You know
really?
that TV show,
Yeah.
huge one, and
You think that's what it's going to be like?
no, oh yeah, like people that want to be lawyers see that and they go, I want to be a lawyer.
But it's really just a bunch of paperwork.
Yeah, the same way that like with Yellowstone, the TV show, people see that show and they're like, oh, I'm gonna go to Montana and be a cowboy.
Yeah. Where I really found that to be true, I did a ride along with a friend of mine who's a police officer. And we had a lot of fun, went and saw, like, did all this stuff. Um, I had a great night. It was night shift too. But I was telling him how cool his job was when I was getting out of the car, and he was like, dude, but you have no idea the amount of paperwork that everything we got into tonight is going to cause. So I think most jobs, I think a lot of jobs are like that, when you don't see the clerical side. But it sounds like what you're saying is like the clerical side is like
The
was the
entire side,
job.
yeah,
So you decided to go business.
yeah. So I had to go full business, and on that, I have some regrets, and mostly being I don't think I needed college.
That's what I was going to ask you. So if you're going into a non, I don't know what you would call that, like a non-specialty. Like there's certain things, like in education, you have to be certified.
Yeah,
To be a lawyer, you have to pass the bar. For business, I've never asked a business major this. And I know you just got out, but like, do you feel like you left school knowing more about business than you would have learned on your own?
no, absolutely not. If I were to have worked in whatever respective field that I would have wanted to work in, so whether it be automotive or uh, I interned for Sherwin Williams, so industrial side of things, paint, or I also interned for Enterprise. If I would have just worked there, they like put you up to manager position within 8 months to a year,
Oh, see,
and you just learn from that. I learned more from the internships than I did from my
who
classes.
put you in the internship though? School?
I did,
Yourself?
yeah. So there was a requirement, and there was a whole thing with me going to Sherwin Williams, but then it didn't count for credit, so I had to redo an internship.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That was yeah, it was
Dude, that
annoying.
sucks. But it sounds like you learned. So you're saying it was more valuable. So if you could go back, would you have gone to college?
I still would have, even though I think that's one of the things that you don't need in terms of
Yeah.
an education.
Huh?
The experience that you get from college is unlike anything else that I've experienced so far. And I mean, admittedly, I'm still very young.
Well, I don't know. So I don't know any other way because I went to college. You went to college.
Mhm.
I don't know if you could get that same burst of like freedom and independence. It'd be interesting to talk to someone who moved out right after high school, like you do when you go to
Mhm.
college, and pursued some type of career or something.
Yeah,
Um, I don't know. Does the business world, if you're going into management somewhere, do they even care about a degree anymore?
it depends. Most companies like to hire from within, so of course they would rather hire a manager for an AutoZone that worked at AutoZone as a cashier for 2 years versus someone who just has a degree from outside because they don't know
Who
the
just
inner
came in?
workings. Yeah, they don't know the inner workings of the company. They don't know the
Yeah,
software, the policies, the regulations, etc. So they like to hire from within. And I find
yeah.
the only thing that matters in like the business world in terms of a degree is an MBA.
People do recognize that,
Yes, they do recognize that on like higher level entry positions. Still entry, but
right? It makes me wonder, like how like sustainable is the university collegiate system of education? Because like if you think about it, centuries ago, well, not even that, not that long ago, like a century ago, and or less, like people went to college and university because they were like the keepers of the information. Not like they kept it away from everyone else, just like they had the libraries, they had the books, right?
mm-hmm.
So like you had to go and do that because you couldn't learn that like in the cabin on the prairie.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't be exposed to all that crap because you didn't have it. So I wonder with the internet now and like just the massive amount of information, I wonder if it'll still be a thing going on, 100 years from now.
That's a good point. I mean, certainly the expansion of YouTube was something that,
Shout out YouTube.
shout out YouTube, completely just changed the landscape of learning
Yeah,
because a lot of people can't just learn from reading a book. They can't just read a book and be like, okay, this is what I have to do now.
me. Yeah,
But
I need to hear it.
I'm uh, I'm currently renovating one of the rooms in the patio home,
Uh-huh.
and I'm ripping up the baseboards and putting in linoleum flooring, and I'm replacing the light fixture in there. I can find that all on YouTube. I don't have to go to a trade school. I don't have to
That's a great point, man.
point out, or I don't have to like ask a friend who's like an expert in that field, or go to
Yeah,
a class.
yeah,
I can just look up a video that's free
yeah.
and do it.
So if you're willing to learn and do the work, there's not you can't do any like you're not gonna do your own surgery, but like there's a lot of things now that I've got to put electricity in my outbuilding, and I found out that like you don't. I'm pretty sure that you don't have to have if you're gonna do it yourself, you have to have it inspected by an electrician. But I don't know how to do that, but I bet it's on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
How to wire like a small building.
Yeah.
If I get this might be like something very scary that we look back at where you should have told me no, don't do that.
Hey,
But
we'll record the next episode in a hospital bed.
yeah, but so I wonder. I do is the education and especially when you think about the cost of it, is it sustainable? A lot of people say that we're going to see a bubble similar to we did with the housing bubble
Mm-hmm.
first, with all these student loans.
I mean, I can't really have much ground to talk on for that because I was 7 years old when it happened.
Uh-huh.
But
So do you think the student loan thing is interesting? Do you think because one of the hottest button issues for voters now
mm-hmm.
is like this student loan forgiveness or no student loan forgiveness? Where do you land on that with your business mind?
From a business standpoint, I don't think that it's going to be feasible. For one, because where are they going to get that money from? I mean, admittedly, I am not very knowledgeable in politics and
Sure.
all these new things going on with policies. I'm 23. I probably should be, but I'm not, unfortunately. And just from a business standpoint, where are they going to get this money from to pay off all these student debts? Because some people are in hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, like from years. And I don't mean to put it in a mean way, but from useless degrees.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Or
So,
even if they are useful,
yeah.
there's still hundreds of thousands, and it makes you. I think that's the question. Like when they say forgiveness, the loan company isn't just being like, You know what? You can have it. We're canceling it. Like someone's got to pay them,
Yeah,
and where would that come from?
the government.
I guess, and where would they get it?
Exactly.
From us, right?
From the
I guess it'd be
taxpayers, yeah.
taxes, right? It's
It would be.
like student loan
They would take money
forgiveness.
away from other things that would be more beneficial to the general population
Mm.
just to benefit the people that have student. And I have student loans, so it's not like I'm.
I had them too.
Yeah, it's not like I'm biased against it because I don't have any. But
Well, the hardest part of that is like someone, I don't have them anymore, but I had them, and if someone had wanted to forgive them for me, I wouldn't have asked any questions. I just would have been like, okay, I might have voted for it. I don't know, because it's very enticing, but you do have to ask the question. Like, I think basic economics tells us that it's got to come from somewhere.
mm-hmm.
It's going to come from somewhere. And if you think about, I don't know, I don't know enough about it either to speak on it, from an educated standpoint. But it seems like that's an awful lot of that would have a big, economic impact
Oh yeah,
on the economy.
and I think that's one of the reasons why it hasn't happened because it's been in talks for years now.
Yeah.
So it's either moving very slowly, but again, I don't keep track of it. So,
So you're 23, you
mm.
graduated. What's next?
Well, after I graduated, it was a very confusing graduation because I had this whole idea planned out and I had all these things set in line of me moving to Austin, Texas and starting a life over there.
Mm-hmm.
But then personal issues came between me and that future,
Yeah.
and I wound up pretty much facing the dirt. I had nothing, no plans. College was over, and immediately out the gate, I worked as a delivery driver for Domino's with a college degree.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I
Did you feel embarrassed by that?
I didn't know.
Yeah, you shouldn't.
I think that people in the service industry have it really hard,
Yeah.
and that just because it doesn't take the same level of education or the same level of knowledge to do compared to like an
Yeah.
accounting
Yeah.
person, it's still not easier by any means.
No. Did you feel like cheated though? Because you just completed this degree and you're like, okay.
I kind of just felt like I was free falling at that point. I just had to like find a branch to grab onto to stop falling.
That was really well
So,
said. So
but
you were out. Is this before you left Montana?
it is, yeah. I worked at a Domino's in Montana.
You graduated and you started working immediately, or what?
Yeah, pretty much. I when I was in college, I was working for the security team at night, and I
Yeah.
had that all 4 years. I worked the security detail, the football games, and I never went to a football game. All 4 years of college, never went to a single sporting event,
Mm-hmm.
and I was working all of them.
Okay.
But I had plenty of jobs in college, and
Yeah.
it was weird, certainly going to that level of a position because in my junior year, I was working as a management internship where I had management responsibilities at Sherwin-Williams.
And here you are delivering pizzas.
Yeah, and I was making more money. And when I
Doing
was
that?
yeah,
So how long did you do that for?
not very long, only probably 2 months.
Yeah.
And I wrote my resignation slip on a pizza box and handed it to the manager. It was kind of funny, but it was
That's great.
on good terms. I never I only left one job in a poor
Mm-hmm.
manner.
So I remember experiencing kind of I don't, maybe some people it could have been depression, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
when college ended, because it's just like a huge slap in the face. Like, okay, you're done. Now what? And like you're on to the next chapter, and
Mm-hmm.
you pretty much everyone I know has the same story you do, where like they had everything laid out, and then life happens, and you kind of got to figure it out. So was it was that a tough time?
Surprisingly, no. My tough time came in sophomore year, and you had mentioned that it happened to you at the end. It happened to me in the middle, which is very weird. But it was just it was very sudden.
Uh huh.
And before it had happened, I didn't really have a concept of what depression was. In my mind, I was like, "Oh, you're sad? Why?" And it just didn't make sense to me because I never felt that kind of sadness before. And I remember it very specifically. It happened as I was working one of the biggest competitors football games,
Uh huh.
and then I left work early because of how hard it hit. I
Really?
thought I was getting like a bug flu or like some kind of like stomach virus, something of that nature, because I was just extremely nauseous. I couldn't eat.
Yeah.
I was getting migraines all the time, and it didn't go away.
Did you have a panic attack?
Not at that point, no. It just kind of all set in on me. And the biggest thing that I found for weeks as well, by the way, I was looking for a cause. I was looking for what happened. Why is this?
Uh.
Why am I feeling like this? And I couldn't find out
Mm-hmm.
why. I went to therapists. My university provided some for a
Mm-hmm.
very good price. And I'm a very factual kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking for them to say, oh, yeah, do this. 2 weeks will be better.
Right.
But it's not like
You're
that.
like, oh, depressed. Got it. Good. What's
Take
next?
this. Boom.
Yeah.
You're good. Not like that.
What was it like?
It was very, it really didn't help that much talking to a therapist because I was expecting them to tell me what to do to fix it. And what they were telling me was just either their opinion or what they think might be happening. I don't like it when professionals say, I think this is the case. Like, imagine if your doctor said, I think your appendix is broken.
Yeah.
What do you mean you think?
Yeah. You want some relief.
Yeah. So it was very sudden, and I found it stemmed from my best friend in college was
Yeah.
moving away. He was leaving early. He had a huge scandal happen to him, and it was
Uh-huh.
very unfortunate. He was the victim of that,
But he had to go.
and he just had to go home. And he lived in Wisconsin. We were in Montana, so it was very far away. He wasn't going to come back,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when it kicked in my brain. All the friends that I ever made in the past 2 years that I expected
Oh.
to be with for a long time, I was already halfway done with that.
You started to realize college ends.
Yeah, and that was the big thing. I
You're
don't know.
like, oh my gosh.
What
Yeah.
was your depression like at the end of your
Well,
college?
so mine actually, now that I think about it, like that summer was tough, but I ended up getting a job, um, going into teaching, like I in a way different manner than I had planned to. Even teaching different content than different, area than I thought I would. That all ended up well. Now that I think about it, it was the toughest part was the year. So I took too long to get out.
Hmm.
So like everyone graduated. Most of my friends. I had some younger friends too. But most of my friends that were like with me throughout the whole thing were gone. And like that was really hard because I felt like a loser. I
Mm.
felt like, oh, here I am. And um I still have nightmares to this day that like I have a class left I have to do, that I don't have all my credits. And then which is kind of true, like I didn't have all my credits at the end. There was like um I remember an advisor came to me and was like, you got to take chemistry. You never took chemistry. I was like, man, I'm 20 credits over like the requirement. Like, I'm not taking any more classes. And they were like, sorry, you got to take chemistry. And like, I just went up the chain, until I was talking to like the dean of the school of education or something. They ended up substituting some science class because I was like, I'm not coming back here for one class. But um, my, I think my issues have been more along the lines of like anxiety. I feel like, and I think those two things intertwine. Like like they're so closely related. I think one usually leads you to the other. Like either you get to depression through a bunch of anxiety, or you're depressed, and then that makes you anxious that you're going to be depressed, forever. So I've hung out more on the anxiety side, which is like more just like worry and stuff like that. But I've never had a true depressive episode, I guess, that was a long time.
Hmm.
Like how long would you say you were in that spot?
And that deep of a spot, I'd probably say it was around 3 or 4 months.
That's pretty dark.
It was a long time. It was over the holidays too, and I didn't go home.
Did it scare you? Like how?
Part of it did. Um, I had amazing friends,
Yeah.
so I had fantastic people around me. I had roommates who were really stood by my side, and I had friends from outside that would always check in on me. And
Yeah.
at one point, I wasn't eating. I lost 20 pounds in 10 days just because I wasn't eating, I wasn't drinking, I couldn't. I was nauseous, and I had a roommate had to sit me down
Mm-hmm.
and pretty much force feed me quesadillas that he got from Chipotle.
It's a good choice.
It was, I mean, it was funny, and I really appreciate now that I look back at it, but it was awful when it happened
Yeah.
because,
Did they know you were depressed?
yeah,
You told them? Well, they could
they
tell.
found out. Yeah, I mean, it's not hard to see, really. I guess that's not true. Some people hide it really well. I was moderately good at hiding it,
Yeah.
and I probably suffered in silence majorly for maybe about 1 month. I
Mm.
only told maybe 3 people
Mm.
in that 1 month, and the turning point that really set me to where I need to seek professional help. I need to do something about this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it still makes me so grateful for this friend I have.
Mm-hmm.
I was I lived in Missoula, Montana. That's
Mm-hmm.
the city it was, and there's this place where everyone goes to see the views of the night, and like you can see the mountain range, you can see the stars,
Mm-hmm.
very little light pollution. You can see all the lights of the city as well, and it's called Top of the World, even though not really.
That's really what it's called.
Yeah, it's called Top of the World, and it's just like a road at the highest point of like this really rich neighborhood, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people go there just to hang out, sit in their cars, watch the views. And I had gone up there with my 9mm,
Mm-hmm.
and I had intention. There was no like, there was a lot of back and forth in my head before that had happened, but
Mm-hmm.
that's what really stepped over the line. Is I went up there with the 9mm with the intent.
You had the plan.
I had the plan. Yeah, I had a note written out. I'd gone up there,
I did not know all that.
and no one really did. I didn't really tell anyone. I didn't even tell the person that helped me out of it. And I'm not going to over exaggerate it for the point of the story. I didn't have the gun in my hand or anything, it was in the glove box. But as I was sitting up there, I got a FaceTime
Just randomly.
from my friend,
Uh-huh.
the one that was moving away,
Yeah.
because he was also my roommate. So we all share each other's locations
Oh, okay.
just to see if someone's home, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And he asked if I was all right because he knew that I was going through a tough time, and he saw that I was
Yeah.
at Top of the World. So it's it's moments like those that you really appreciate those that you have in your life,
Absolutely.
because before that, like I didn't know who I had. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know how much people cared for me.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I realized that it was something I had to get a control on, something I had to get a hold of.
Yeah.
So luckily, I worked for the police department at that time,
Yeah.
the security job that I worked, also with the police department on campus. So I was able to store my all my weapons at the police department in their lockers for free. I had 3 guns at the time, so I had to put all of them in there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I told my dad. That's when I told.
Did you tell him all that?
No, he's gonna find out from this video. But it's
I appreciate you sharing that because I, you know, we were joking around earlier about I'm starting to get more views, whatever. Like I don't that, but like I hope that like someone of the 100 or 70 people that hear this that speaks to.
Mhm.
So like, what would you say to someone who has crossed over from I'm really sad, I'm not sure I want to be here, and they've crossed over to like I have an intention now of leaving.
I um I really stand with this one quote, and admittedly, it's not really the best of circumstance because of the situation of the person that said it.
Mm-hmm.
But a quote that really stuck with me was by Robin Williams, and he said that suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary issue.
you heard it before that moment?
No,
That
no,
rings very true,
it
doesn't it?
does. It rings very true. It was probably the one thing that I would just keep remembering. And I was very stubborn, still am. So
I think that's in the family.
it's got to be. But I refuse to take any medication.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of like the serious stuff, I would take trazodone to help me sleep
Mm-hmm.
at night, and that's where my whole thing of listening to podcasts when I sleep. I haven't gone to bed without a podcast since that day.
Do you think you'll listen to this one while you fall asleep?
Maybe. I'm not sure. I might want to pay attention to it, but I typically just listen to
Yeah.
just some funny. I don't listen to educational ones. I just listen to funny ones as I go to bed.
So from that point on, was it a climb, a steady climb out? I mean, it's not quick,
Oh no, it was not a climb out by any means.
but you started to come out.
It was
You
yeah,
started to
it
work.
plateaued and
Yeah.
it didn't get any higher than that. But that was the apex, if you will. So
You started getting better slowly after that.
yeah, that was when I started reaching out to the friends I had, and that's why now I'm a huge advocate for mental health. I have stickers on my cars. I have, you know,
Dude,
I check in on all my friends now. I,
thank you so much for sharing that. I,
I mean, yeah, it's the more that people share their stories, the more it gets out there, and the more people realize they're not alone in their what they think is their own world and their own problems, but in reality, it's a problem that's shared by a lot of people.
yeah, and I think for me, from like a spiritual perspective, um, if you suffer in silence, and even if you get better out of that, but you keep that whole part of you silent, it really was meaningless because you're not helping anyone else out of that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So then, like, the suffering was just pointless. Uh, that's what has forced me to be open about um, just anxiety, living with anxiety. And for me, it's OCD, and it comes in the form of like, uh, I'll worry about different stuff that is, not. So like, here's an example of like something. I don't even think I've told you this. Like, so I'll be driving down the road. This is just the example I give everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Driving down the road and I have the thought like, what if I just jerk the wheel? Now, I don't have that thought because I want to die or anything like that. Like, I'm just like listening to music. I don't know what I'm thinking, and then it just comes, right? Now, everyone's had that thought, everyone that I've talked to. But if you don't have an OCD brain, like an obsessive brain that'll grab onto something like that, you just go, oh, that was weird. And then you just keep on going, right? It doesn't freak you out. For me, for an OCD brain, you ask a question that is very dangerous because there's no answer to it. You ask, why did I have that thought? And then you're just screwed because you're trying to figure out, oh, what's wrong with me? Why would I have that thought? Do I want to do that? I don't know if I want to do that. Do I want to do that? Why do I have that thought if I don't want to do that? And then you're just spinning, right? Because there's no answer to that. You don't know why you have that thought. Like, how many thoughts do we have every day that you don't know the answer to? They
Right.
just pop in. So I say all that to say that, like, for a long time, I didn't tell anyone about that battle. And it's much better now. And I went and talked to someone. I talked to a psychologist, and
Mm-hmm.
I went to therapy, and um, it's much more. It's not any. It's not something that's gonna ever like go away
Mm-hmm.
completely, right? Like, you will probably feel depressed at some point on a certain level again, but you've been there and you'll know the route, to get out. But I started telling people because I realized like you almost see like a huge relief in people's face. If you ever tell someone that face to face, like you see this huge relief in their face that they're not the only one who has like some secret, some dark place they've been. And when you can tell them that, it takes their chains off because they thought they were alone. So I think the greatest thing that the enemy does is like convinces us to like to suffer in silence, suffer alone, right? Because if we share that, number one, we're not going to get better if we don't share it. But also, I'm not going to help other people get better. I really appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, man.
That's a big deal. Um, since we're talking about such serious topics, uh, 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, you and me watched our grandfather die. Was that 3 weeks ago?
That was, yes, 3 weeks ago.
Now I've seen that happen. I've been through that. I'm 39 years old. The
Hmm.
first time I saw that, first time I saw someone die was my other grandfather, and I was uh, 32, maybe something like that. So I've seen that with three grandparents and my dad. What was that? First off, it was really, I don't know, cool is like the wrong word because like someone's dying, but it was neat that you and I got to be there. You were there before me, and like, but we got to. You and me were the last people he had like coherent conversation with.
Yeah, that was a weird day for me as well. And
Yeah.
I've said that a few times. It's that day specifically just didn't make sense.
How so?
For probably about a week prior to that, I was going to bed at 3 a.m., waking up at like noon, 1.
College guy.
Yeah, I'm still
Yeah.
living the college days, huh?
Yeah.
But for some reason, on that morning, I woke up at 8 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
and I usually when I would go to see our grandfather, it would be about 3:30 for his happy hour or after dinner, bring him ice cream, something like that. I never went to see him in the morning before,
Yeah.
but that morning I felt that I had to go see him.
Mm-hmm.
So I got up, I went to Panera, and the previous day he had mentioned that he likes oatmeal, so I bought some oatmeal from Panera and black coffee that he would always drink.
Disgusting.
And I went over there,
Yeah.
and he was in awful shape. It happened so fast. It He was from going around having fun to death within 5 days,
Yeah.
and it all happened so fast. And I think the biggest thing was because of his throat.
Yeah.
He couldn't swallow without breathing in some of the water or food, so it was just
Going down his lungs.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's
And
94.
he was very old, and it was his time.
Yeah.
But originally, I had moved back here from Colorado
Yeah.
to be by him. I knew that he was coming towards the end. I thought I had
Sure.
maybe a year left,
Yeah.
and I got here, and I'm so glad I did because I had 2 weeks.
Was it literally that quick? It was, wasn't it? Um, so do you think, so let me tell you about my day that day. I took the day off because um there were people were coming to they were coming to build the my outbuilding.
Hmm.
So I took the day off so I could be here so they build that. That morning I get a call that their truck broke down or something. So I'm like, I'm off the whole day. I've already put in for a personal day. I'm just gonna fart around here or whatever. And I FaceTimed you, right?
Hmm.
I don't.
Out of the blue too.
Did I know you were there?
No, you had no idea I was there. I was just
That's bizarre.
there with him and that service dog.
I was
We,
hoping you were. I think I was hoping you were there because we
hmm
knew he was rough, kind of the day before.
yeah,
So I FaceTime you, and you're like, I think you should, because he's really bad.
yeah.
So I came over there. Yeah, that was so. When things like that happen, you've mentioned a couple things now that like you could choose to say like they're very coincidental. Um, or like Carl Jung, the psychologist, famous psychologist, talked about um, synchronicity and like how that's what he a term he used to explain like these coincidences to him ended up just like he couldn't accept that they were just coincidences, because like sometimes you tap into something that you can't explain in any scientifical terms or any psychological terms. Um, but these coincidences or these synchronicities of these things where you feel like you're just on a, you're dealing with the supernatural, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Do you look at those things as like as coincidental, or do you think those things are you're dealing with some kind of higher field?
I don't know. I don't want to say they're coincidences because things that common or like back to back to back things that don't normally happen.
Yeah,
And like waking up that morning when I never wake up that early,
yeah,
and then you calling, which you never do, kind of hurt by the way, but but just all for all that to happen, and
uh,
then also it's not as big of a thing. But as I was leaving
yeah.
the care home,
Uh huh.
you probably heard it. I turned on my
Oh,
playlist,
that.
and Grandpa's Never Die starts playing. That's I know that's like who cares, but for that many things to happen in a row,
Yeah.
I don't think that's a coincidence. But I also question higher power.
How so?
I just I'm not sure. I never really looked into it. I never
Mm-hmm.
did a lot of research into it. All I can think about is, what proof is there? Do we have proof of that?
Mm-hmm.
And in my mind, as pre-law track, which is what I was doing, the proof needs to be there for it to be like trustworthy.
Sure.
So that's just been ingrained in my head that where's the proof? If it's not there, how should I know to believe in that?
Sure. Um, that's kind of what. So like the conclusion that Young came to, even being a preacher's kid, he wasn't like he wasn't very spiritual, or like he was very analytical and stuff, but like it was things like that that eventually led him um to a point where he's like there has to be, there's too many things like that that are happening, and
Mm-hmm.
things that are out of our control that end up happening that have no explanation. um so I mean, I guess like we're going to live in a world without explanation regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's almost impossible to expect to understand everything, you know? So for me, I think it's, I was raised in it, right? Believing,
Right.
but when it became my own is when like I had to ask myself the question, like, is it is it more possible that all this is an accident? Like stardust that ended up as a single cell organism in some water. Where'd all that come from? And then we're here talking.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is that more believable, or that there's like a creator? And for me, it was like they're both they're both, neither one of them are fathomable. You know what I mean? Like we can't understand either of those things. Um, and no one was there to show us. There was no camera. You know what I mean? So like these, I always get a kick out of like science keeps like dating the world like billions of years older every year. They're like, well, now it's 100 billion years old. We found out. I'm like, we're all just like guessing, man. We're just pissing in the wind.
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't know. We know it's old.
We don't have the technology to know yet. I mean, the fact that we know more about outer space than what's in our own ocean,
Yeah,
because that's common
it's
knowledge is that we know
final
more.
frontier,
Yeah,
dude.
that's crazy.
Well, we can't breathe under there, so
You can't breathe in outer space either.
it's true. Good point. But that we're not going to live under there. We might live in space someday. Dude, water world. But um, yeah, for me, it ended up like I had to decide like more probable than not, you know.
Uh
And
huh.
I don't want you to think like that, like to believe something like that is to walk around never doubting. because I was brought up to think that I just assumed this. No one told me this, but like, I mean, our grandparents, they're Christians.
Hmm.
I don't, neither one of them ever told me they doubted anything. And so I just assumed like I would like getting back to like suffering in silence, like when I would have doubts or questions, like I was ashamed to say them out loud. But then, like, same thing with you telling your story that I'm sure will touch someone who hears this. And if I mean, at the very least, it touched me when someone voiced their doubts to me. I was like, oh, I'm not the only one. And then I start to talk to other people about it. And they're like, no, dude, of course. We don't like, we're just all doing the best we can down here.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So I have doubts about that sometimes, but so I hope you don't think that that there's ever a point where you subscribe to something like that, you know, at 100% at all times. I don't think there's anything like that.
Because it's human to have doubt,
Well, yeah, man. I mean, it's human nature to
question things, I guess.
sure,
Hmm.
and there's tons of stuff we don't understand. But so having gone through that experience, circling back to our grandfather, whose name is Bob, we call him Bob. How did that change you? And like, in what ways did going through that experience, being there when it happened, you were probably closer to him than any grandparent, I would say.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we're a few weeks out, and you'll continue to learn from that experience and take things away. But how's it impacted you?
Well, here's the thing with me. It's a bit different than most people in terms of how they grieve. I rarely show emotion like right after something happens. There's like a state of shock
Mm-hmm.
for me with all big things. It happened when Bob died. It happened when Nana died. It happened when I broke up from a long time relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel sad for an extended period of time.
Yeah,
Of course, I'd be sad at a funeral, but for
sure.
a long period of
I know
time,
what you mean.
I guess it's sort of a stage of denial or
You can't process all that,
non-acceptance. Yeah,
you know.
like oh, he's gone for good, or like this isn't gonna happen anymore. Like
That's a hard thing, man.
it
Like,
is.
when my dad died, that is when it really hit me the hardest. Of like, I'm not gonna see him. Like, what does it mean gone? You know what I mean? Like, like, it's weird. You and I were with him, and then he was gone.
Hmm. What do you think about the new technology that people are finding more and more attractive with AI, where people before they go onto their deathbed, before they have like huge life changing surgery that might end up in them passing away, they get an AI made out of them pretty much. So it has their same voice, it has like a hologram or like a video of them, and they can move and everything and talk and have the same temperament and
Is that really happening?
cadence. It's yeah, it's people are starting to do it now, and I remember it happened a few years ago. It was very early technology back then with Kanye West
Mm-hmm.
and Kim Kardashian. I don't really keep up with many celebrities now, but back then it was such big news that
Yeah.
Kanye West paid for a hologram of Kim's father to tell her how proud he is of her.
Oh, I remember that.
What do you think of that?
Uh, I don't want to be judgmental towards people that might find comfort in that, I guess. But
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't.
You wouldn't want that,
No, it's not them.
right?
Like, I know it's not them. So it, I feel like it almost might like make it worse. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we were designed to have to deal with something like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's a natural order of things. When someone dies, like, they die, they're gone. And if you think about it, human beings are very adaptable to that, even though that's a horrific thing. When you really stop and think about it, that like, we all know we're going to die.
Mm-hmm.
We all know everyone we know is going to die. but somehow we deal with it. Um, and we don't all walk around the earth scared to death, which is crazy. Like if you would think we would.
Hmm.
So but I don't think we were designed to know how to process something like that. Like, but then again, on the other hand, is it different than me? Um, I got a voicemail saved from Dad, and I've got a voicemail saved from Bob, and like, but that's really their voice. That's really them that called me that day.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's a good idea for those who have doubt. If people, a lot of people rely on their parents, on their guardians, whoever,
Yeah.
when they're in times of doubt. If they need advice, they don't trust anyone else. They can't, open
Mm-hmm.
up to them in the same way. And I feel like if it's the same, if they have the same memories, so I know this is far, far in the future, nowhere near our time. But have you ever seen a TV show called Upload?
Mm-hmm.
It's,
I haven't seen it. I know what you're talking about though.
yeah, like where they have a brain scan
Yeah.
and it gives all the memories, all the knowledge, wisdom, pretty much everything on a data standpoint that makes a person a person.
Mm-hmm.
It has that. So that's kind of like you're talking to them just on FaceTime, pretty
Mm-hmm.
much. I feel like that's about the earliest that I do it. I wouldn't do it just based off of someone that has the same voice and that kind of stuff because that'd be weird. Like he wouldn't say that. But
You think it's possible?
in the far future, yeah, by far, gosh, I don't know, maybe
I don't think that's.
30, 40
I don't
years.
think it's possible. I don't think it's possible. You still are going to have an element. It's not them, so there's still going to be an element of like inauthenticity to it. Because you're going to know it's not them, and like you'll never know. Is that really what they would say? And I guess you could choose to believe like this AI scanned, Bill's brain,
Hmm.
and this is exactly what Bill would tell me. But like, I don't think that would ever be possible to know that. Like we don't even know how each other. We don't know what we're going to say in real life. A lot of times, people will give you advice that you're like, wow, I didn't see that coming. So like, you're definitely going to question a freaking robot.
Right.
I would think. But I don't want to. I don't think it would be for me. It just
Hmm.
because like it's healthier for me to like. I remember the lessons my dad taught me,
Hmm.
and like I could actually see like it could really screw with your memories and like your perception and your you know everything about your loved one if you start like mixing in AI messages with like who they really were.
Right. I
That
mean,
could be dangerous maybe.
in that circumstance, it wouldn't be AI.
What would it be?
That's it would just be a complete scan of their brain, and because like that goes,
Who would be doing the talking?
it would be their brain because the brain is just a computer. Admittedly, it's
Yeah,
organic,
yeah,
but it's just
I
a
agree.
computer. So what's to say that can't be replicated into an actual hard drive or
So how would you ask it questions?
same way I'm talking to you right now? If I was FaceTiming you and I ask you a question, then you respond.
But it wouldn't be. It would have AI would have to be in there somewhere because you're not that person's dead. So who would you be looking at?
There might, I don't
Like a
know.
puppet?
It's really far in the future to
Like a
think
dad
about.
puppet?
I guess, but I mean, have you heard of the theory that nothing exists when you don't see it?
Sure.
So, like right now, my cat's at home,
Mm-hmm.
but how do I know that? How do I know he's there right now? How do I know that once I leave, like once I don't see him, how do I know that he just doesn't disappear?
Because you have faith that he's there.
Well, yeah, faith, but do I have proof? That's the whole point of this, like
But you have
theory.
sure, okay. Theory of what?
I forgot the name of it. It's
But like, how does it? Like, what do you mean by that?
just like what proof do you have that what you don't see is still there? So right
Oh
now
man.
there's a TV behind you.
Yeah.
How do you know it's there? Can you see it?
No.
Can you touch it?
No. But I would say that's what I would say. I would say the same thing about circling back to believing in God. It's like I can't see God or touch God, but I have faith, and I think it's more probable than not
Hmm.
that that TV is behind me because it was there when I sat down. And there's certain things like, you know, I don't feel God's presence at this exact moment, but I've certainly felt it in my life,
Hmm.
and I know that I'll feel it again.
Right.
So, uh, yeah, I think the things I don't see are probably there.
Well, I know it's a very weird like theory. It's just a funny one that I've
That is out there,
thought
though.
about for
It's
a
kind
little
of
bit.
like going back to like, does the tree that falls in the woods make a noise if no one's there to
Yeah,
hear it? Does it?
I'd imagine so, but I will never know because no one's around to hear it.
But it's still, well, what is sound's just vibration, right?
Yeah,
But if the vibration has nothing to, what do ears do? Absorb?
I guess detect.
Actually, I've never really thought about it that in depth before.
What, the ears detect sound?
No, I've thought about that. I don't have to think about
I
that. About like, if something doesn't detect it, does that?
mean, it happened.
Got to be something there. We can agree on that. There's a rabbit. There's something heard it. There's something in the woods. Um, I want to ask you about. I've asked everyone this in one way or another.
Hmm.
Um, what do you think about the state of America right now? Now, like I have to tell you, I know America's not a state, but I mean the state of
I know what you mean,
America. So,
but
what do you think? You're 23. You just
I'm
got out of college.
23, and I worked in the professional field for a little bit. I was a college student. I Gen Z.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know much about politics. I don't want to step on any toes or anything, but I think that there's so much turmoil compared to what it was when I was a kid. Like when I was young, I don't remember there being this much stress and animosity among the people in the US.
Do you think that's because everyone has drifted further apart, or do you think it's because we know what everyone's thinking now?
I think it's because people refuse to talk. People become especially with COVID, people become more introverted. They don't want to talk to one another.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this guy, I forgot his name, but his whole shtick is going on to public campuses, universities,
Mm-hmm.
and talking to people with different opposing viewpoints on either politics or faith,
Oh, I love it.
whatever.
Yeah,
And he just talks to people, and his whole shtick is when talking stops, violence starts.
yeah.
So that's where I think it's happening. It's There's so much violence going on in the U.S. right now, and I think one of the biggest things that's, of course, unfortunately being known for now in America is um, incidents in school with firearms.
Oh, shootings. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very widespread now, and it's becoming more and more widespread because of how much attention it gets in the media. And people are making manifestos talking about what they want to say in the news once they do it. And luckily,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people are getting caught beforehand. But
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest thing about it is that they want attention. They want light to be brought to whatever cause they're trying to make a point of, regardless of how many people it hurts.
It certainly feels like everyone is trying to champion some type of cause. Like everyone wants. We're almost expected to give a take on everything now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like I don't remember it being like that before. Like, like right now, everyone would want to know, like, well, what do you think about Israel Palestine? What do you think about the war in Ukraine? What do you think about Trump Biden? What do you think about gun laws? What do you think about abortion? Like, you have to have. It's almost like before someone like wants to have a conversation with you, they want to like size you up and be like, where do you land on these things? Because I need to know if you're not with me, you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I get that a lot, especially with people my age. That's how they determine if they're going to be social with you, if they're gonna keep talking to you, if they're gonna, you know, keep you in their life, is based off of your ideals.
like your hot button issue takes.
Yeah.
Like, where do you land on like everyone's carrying around like 10 things. Like, are you on my side on these 10?
Yeah.
You know,
And if you're not on their side for one of them,
you're
then
gone.
you might as well not be their side for
Yeah.
any of them.
How much do you think social media, like, how much, what do you like? Do you think their role has been like super significant in this? In like magnifying our
I think it
differences?
has. Social media definitely has given the ability to spread just the word, I guess, of anything and everything. Social media, especially TikTok, is the new one,
Mm-hmm.
the big one, and I'm unfortunately victim to TikTok because I've spent a lot of time on it.
What do you mean you're a victim to it?
I mean, I just get sucked in.
But I
I
mean, are you a willing victim?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy it because most of the stuff that I watch, I don't watch it for like political statements or that kind of stuff. I
Yeah,
watch it because there's funny things on there. But occasionally there will be some kind of propaganda or
sure.
you know subliminal messaging,
Yeah.
and
So I don't understand TikTok. I don't have it. How does
mhm.
it suck people in?
it the algorithm is the biggest thing, and I think that's one of the reasons why the U.S. is trying to ban it is because the algorithm. The algorithm, they are banning it.
Because there's like, what's addictive about it?
They're
It's,
It accommodates to you.
it's tiny short videos, right?
Well, not necessarily.
They could be long.
They can be up to 10 minutes.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought they were all like super short.
No, they used to be. It's adapted and changed over the years. Vines were only 6 seconds, and that's it. You couldn't go any
Oh,
longer.
okay.
But
TikTok killed Vines.
I
I
mean,
remember
Vine was already
Vines.
dead. But TikTok, I think, bought out Vine, so the accounts
Okay.
from Vine carried over, or maybe that was Musically. I'm not really sure entirely. I wasn't on those apps. Um, but the algorithm itself, I think the whole reason why the U.S. is trying to completely ban it
Mm-hmm.
is because the algorithm takes so much personal information from you without telling you.
Mm.
It takes your age, what you search, what you Google, what you talk about in your house. Like, it takes all these things
Yeah.
and it uses what you say and what you do and puts it into the algorithm.
Then it feeds you what you want.
Yes, like if, for instance, I was talking about cat food the other day, I was like, I got to get more cat food. The first ad on TikTok was cat food.
An ad or a video?
There's ads now. So it's getting more and more marketing esque. I think marketing is getting
Yeah.
really big into TikTok because Duolingo. I'm not sure if you know,
Uh-uh.
the app that you learn different languages on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're huge on TikTok, and like it's more than just good advertisement. It's a presence that they make on
Mm-hmm.
TikTok. They have double digit million of followers,
Mm-hmm.
and it's definitely brought them a lot of revenue. And what their shtick is just they have their mascot doing funny things
Gotcha.
and partnering up with other big companies, and like Duolingo and Scrub Daddy had a whole merger where they made like Duolingo
Scrub.
Scrub Daddies.
What is a scrub daddy?
You don't know like the smiley faces of the sponges that you like?
No.
No.
Dude, no. I've been on the farm too long. No idea what you're talking about.
Well, it's like one of the most successful Shark Tank products.
Scrub daddy?
Yes, it's the smiley sponges.
Never seen one.
Really?
No.
Well, they're huge. We have some at the patio home, and they're good because
Did you order some?
what, Scrub Daddies?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
From Timu?
No, you can't buy them on Temu. I buy a lot of stuff on Temu,
Yeah, you do. You
but
shop like a billionaire.
I do. When you're on Temu, you're a billionaire.
That's right.
But it also has a lot of spyware. I would get a lot of scam calls.
From Timu?
Yeah,
You buy clothes on there?
I did one time mistake.
I hear they're terrible. Is everything brandless on Timu?
No, not necessarily. A lot of them have very Asian sounding names.
Like Brandon?
Yeah, like Brandon. I'm Chinese, by the way.
You're half Chinese.
That still counts.
Yeah, it does. For sure. It's still, you know what kills me is like people still, um, when they find out that you're half Chinese and you're my first cousin, they can't understand how that's possible. Even still, like grown ups like my age,
Mm-hmm.
they're like, "Oh, dude, you don't look Chinese." I
Yeah,
mean,
like
someone
Chuck.
Rob's friend? Our
Yeah,
friend?
yeah.
What'd he say?
Like when we were meeting after the sermon the other
Uh-huh.
week, and Rob was like, "Oh, this is our cousin Brandon." He goes, "You pulling my leg? Are you serious?" It's just not very believable, I guess. And I mean,
Oh,
I
Chuck.
have a very different mentality, and I guess I present myself different than most people of Asian descent.
How do you present yourself different?
I guess I'm more
Ooh, careful.
colloquial and laid back. A lot of Asians are very uptight. They're very rule orientated. You know, at
You've never
this.
met any like that.
Oh, you're a funny man, Seth.
we,
I can see why you started a podcast.
I don't think we can get down into that.
Yeah, that's a real deep rabbit hole. But some people in my family are very prickly. I'll put it like that.
Kevin.
Yeah, my father, the white one.
Oh man. Dude, we've been talking. I can't believe we've been talking an hour. That was really fun.
You're gonna have to edit this, man.
Do you see why I like doing it?
Yeah, it's just a conversation.
It's fun. So I may get better mics,
Mm-hmm.
but the thing that the last guy, my friend Travis, was on here, he made a really good point. He was like, dude, the wireless like clip-on mic made it very easy to forget that you're not just having a conversation because there's not a mic in your face. You're not wearing headphones or anything like that. You're just
Right.
sitting in a chair. So maybe I'll just have to get better.
I do. There are Rode mics, RODE.
Mm-hmm.
They're like pretty expensive.
They're more than $12.
Yeah, they're like 200.
Because these were $12. Would they plug into my iPhone?
I believe they'll connect via Bluetooth, maybe.
Yeah.
But they do have a receiver. They're like high quality. They're like it's what they use on professional TV shows for like in
Right.
like news channels.
You know what would really suck is if I walk over to that
And it's not recording.
and it didn't record. It was still fun.
I have to come back and I have to retell my whole story.
I
I
don't, I don't think we could. Man,
was like, I'll have to
I really
say
hope
a different story.
I really hope you guys are still there. This concludes episode 4. Please subscribe. Please smash that like button. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you for having
It
me,
was
man.
really cool.
Appreciate it.
We'll see you guys on the flip side. Please be recording. Yes!